text where it makes no sense. I should take a screenshot of it. It's funny. All right, we'll go with that. Is that right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to the live stream. We're just setting up last minute things before we get started. Hopefully,
That's what we tell everybody.
We should go and share this with people.
Share it.
Jump over here now that we are live. First things first, share to feed. Makes it sound like we're giving to some charity.
Yeah.
To starving people. Share to feed.
Share to the little people. There you go.
Episode 745. What have you done with your life? Okay. That's that. Yep. Link is set for the Facebook comment. I think on this day in history is for June 5th. I don't remember typing June 4th in there. Because this is the 3rd. Yeah, it's for the 5th. It's always on a Wednesday. Never on a Sunday, because that's the day of rest. Oh, should have sang that to Donna when we were in Puerto Vallarta last year. That would have brought back scary memories.
Let me brighten my scene here.
We were on our honeymoon many decades ago in Puerto Vallarta, and there was one guy who was singing. I believe he had a guitar, and he would come around to your table or walking up and down the beach. Whatever. He was one of these local musicians, and he always sang the same song. Never on a Sunday, and he had that Mexican lisp going on.
Yeah,
because that's a day of rest.
Was he singing at every table?
Pretty much.
Oh, that's funny.
I totally forgot about that till I just said it.
That's cute. You should try that on the Star Trek cruise. Play the same song on the ukulele, everybody.
Then I would be just like Daniel with Careless Whisper on the saxophone.
You should learn that on the ukulele. Yeah, you should.
All right, funny story before we get started. Saturday, I'm sitting there on the couch with the laptop working on an integration between ServiceNow and our podcast software. And about 10 afternoon, I see Ben Regaton walking up to the door with a 2-liter bottle of Sprite. Like, Ben? Like, oh no. He probably got the weeks wrong for the pool party.
Oh no. Did he?
I opened up the door. I said, let me guess. You think the pool party's today? He goes, it's not?
Oh no.
No, it's next weekend. And he goes, Keith is going to have a cow. He spent all this time working, and Keith is out there unloading the car of food.
Oh no. Well, I guess y'all had a good evening.
I said, you're welcome to stay. We would love to spend some time with you. We haven't done that in a while. And since you've already got the food, let's dig in. And I said, you don't have to bring anything next weekend. It reminds me of when Scott Tyler did that last year.
I brought that happened before, didn't it? Yeah.
Scott did it last year with the beer. I told him, you're not the first. But we had a great time. We had like 4 hours just sitting around chatting. I was playing the ukulele, and Donna, handed hers to Ben. And Ben says, oh, I probably shouldn't. I'm a guitar player. It'll mess me all up. And as soon as he figured out there's a formula to it, he says, oh, everything's just off by a fifth.
Yeah.
This would be a D on the guitar, and that's a G here.
Limited strings, yeah.
Within minutes, he was playing fluidly, and then even showing me a couple things going, no, see, if you go up like that, you just hold, like, oh, okay. Now I learned a couple new things, and he gave me a strumming pattern to practice. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. We put some songs on the from the laptop cast onto the Apple TV, and it was scrolling in front of us, and we were just having a blast. So it turned out to be a very, very nice afternoon.
Very cool. That's awesome. Hey, look at this. All right, so I asked ChatGPT while you were talking. I like
Yes.
the story. Based on the title, the Photon Funnies, the title I picked. I said make a meme based on that. Look what it came up with. See, share. Look at that.
Foon funnies?
The Why did the photo Nev get lost? Because it was always because it
Because it
always beats
always
last
be last summit.
and because what
Because it always takes the path least resistance.
wait a
Okay,
minute.
clearly English is not.
Yeah.
What did you use? ChatGPT?
Dolly, with ChatGPT.
Dolly is not English is not Dolly's first language.
Right.
Why did the photon he case always the path of least resistance? Because it Talese it always the wow. It's like got one leg.
Yeah. He's got 2 arms and 1 leg, and he's leaning on the leg that's not there.
Hang on to those. Hang on to those. We're gonna work those into the show. This just got a lot funnier. This guy's got 3 legs.
I like the look of it, but yeah, that's funny.
It's kind of retro. All right, now that we have something funny in the show, you ready? We're already
Yeah. You know
broadcasting
what?
live for the
Say what you want about
viewers.
AI.
Thank
Say
you.
what you want. Say what you want about AI. It's that kind of stuff that I think is funny.
Oh, it's in its humorous mistakes mode.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
deadly yet. All right, here we go. Well, let's just go as soon as the counter. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong profile. That would have been a mess. I would have been in one channel and you would have been in the other.
Oh, wonderful.
That would have been a mess. That would have confused the listeners. Although it could have been a neat effect. There we go. Now I'm back in both ears.
There was a time when I did separate our channels a little bit.
There we are. I used to do that too for a while on the mixer. Let's not this time.
No.
Just one slightly panned left and one slightly panned right.
Yeah, when we were doing double enders and I was having to edit them, I tried it a couple times.
Okay,
Right.
here we go. Ready? Technorama episode 745, The Photon Funnies. Hello and welcome to Technorama, the show that takes a lighthearted look at tech, science, sci-fi, and all things geek. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the show. If you're returning, welcome back. We appreciate you giving us your time. My name is Chuck Tomasi from sunny Phoenix, Arizona, and right over there is the one and only Craig Stepp. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing well. Got my son graduated, moved out of his apartment, and we're here to tell the tale.
You gave him the big boot and said, and stay out.
Stay out.
And now
No.
you and your wife are living high off the hog, one
Wait a
less
minute.
expense.
So Harrison came home to a tent in the backyard, NASA's new room.
I remember when my older brother got his first job offer and my mom answered the phone and says, "Hi, this is Mike Verstegen from Plexus. We'd like to offer your son a job." And my mom says, "His bags will be on the porch."
Like Plexus is going to send a man to pick him up. Oh, that's pretty funny.
That's my
That's-
mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was one of Mike was my boss for a while. And it
Mhm.
was one of his favorite stories. He goes, "I always remember when I extended Rico a job back in '84. We just
That's
had
funny.
a lady that I worked with. She was like an admin assistant, and she was
Mhm.
in the accounting group. She just retired at almost 43 years. She's been there since August of '81.
I've known a lot of people that had long careers like that, and it's pretty awesome.
One company,
Mhm.
Man, that's some serious. I remember
Hey.
when her kid was born.
Yeah.
She got married twice. So her original name was I won't divulge it here, but she got married twice. Went from a name that had an alliteration, not they rhymed. Like Mary Scolari or something. It rhymed, and then she changed it, and then changed it again. I remember when her kid was born. I remember when her kid went to kindergarten, and she came in and she was in tears. And now I'm afraid to ask. I was like, she probably has grandkids at this point. I don't want to know.
Right. Well, I knew a guy. He was old enough when he retired. When I knew him and he retired, he had he was old enough where he had a career at an old other company and 2 different careers at the company I was at. He retired at one point, and then about a week and a half later, I saw him, he was back. So, he was he couldn't s
He's doing the Michael Jordan thing. I'm gonna
he
retire.
needed
No, I'm
he
not.
needed
I am.
something to do, so he
Sure.
came back, and then, we became friends, and he ended up retiring for good at that point. But yeah, he was like 88,
Oh
something
my
like that.
goodness. Boy,
Yeah, he
serious worker.
he didn't know what else to do. I mean,
I've
I don't mean
got
that
nowhere else to go.
well, I don't mean that in a bad way, but at the same time, I feel like he worked so long that just life passed him by, and that's all he knew, you know? So,
I don't want
anyway.
to end up where, yeah, life passed me by and I just said, nobody ever said I'd rather spend more time at work. They say I always wish I'd spend more time with family. So I don't want to end up in that situation. So when there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it.
Oh, what was that I sent, when Harrison graduated, I wrote him a letter, and this was inspired by something I'd seen on Reddit. Somebody wrote their son a similar letter, and I put in there, that, uh, on your deathbed, nobody's gonna say, "I wish I'd watched a little more TV," or, "I played that video game a little longer."
Right.
So I was telling him to make sure he got out there and did what he wanted to do.
I mean,
Wow,
obviously,
we're really bringing the show down, aren't we?
you want to, we're going in a totally different direction, but let's take it back
You
to
know what I mean?
listener feedback.
Yeah.
There. Now we're back on course.
You know what I mean.
Letters, oh, we get letters. We get your letters every day. Mailman, mailman, mail today. Reach right in and pull one out. Those letters, I love those letters. Let's find out what you got to say.
Oh boy.
Mailman, mail today.
Stop it with the crickets.
Cricket's got a
Okay,
rhythm.
move along.
Our question of the week for you last time was, what free thing is so good you can't believe it's actually available for free?
Oh, this is a good one right here, Mark
Shut up
Kilfoyle.
and take my money.
Yeah, Mark Kilfoyle says the Levelator, which I have loved that tool for a long time. It is an amazing tool, no longer updated, and so much simpler when I'm training people to work with audio.
Yes.
It was very simple. You just dragged the audio. I don't even think it had hardly any options. You just dragged the audio on top of the app
Right.
and let us do its thing.
Yeah, I think it used to take MP3s, but now it only takes waves. And there was a version 3 out there for a while,
Hmm.
which I grabbed and I will never let go. It will be on my NAS for every Mac that I install from here to eternity
Yeah,
because you can't find it
I,
anymore.
I don't think I don't think it runs on the native Mac Silicon now, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, it does.
I've got an M3 Pro and I just ran it this morning.
Okay.
Yep.
He said similarly Audacity, which I've been using
Yes.
really my entire podcasting career. I always called it the notepad of audio editing.
It's
And
not, now I would say it's more than Notepad of audio
no,
editing.
when I say it like that, I mean like it's a great utility for editing audio. I mean, I've used it to do big projects. So yes, you're right. It is bigger. I'm just saying it's a great Swiss Army knife of utility.
It's preventing me from ever learning Audition.
well, I've used them all, but I'll say that Audacity is pretty cool. And he also follows that up more and says, even more, all of Linux and the GNU universe, even though I don't use all those tools as directly as I once did, and I would like to do again, as a software developer and computer enthusiast, they were and are invaluable. And I 100% agree. I use Linux every day at work.
Yep.
I've used it for years and years and years. Things like GIMP. A lot of free software I've been using for, well, I'm pushing 30 years now.
You're getting old.
So it's a software, but it's still good.
No, notice this is pushing 30 years. You want to push it as far away as you can.
Yeah.
Steve London says nothing. Oh, I forgot. Lone Guys Night free thing was Air.
Okay.
Steve London
That-
said, "Nothing comes for free. Someone is always paying, just like cloud computing. It's just someone else's computer."
Yes, exactly.
You
All right. So
take another one?
yeah, so Steve London, oh, that's the one you just read. Steve Weshy says the whole G Suite of products. Yes, I know you pay by giving them access to your information, meaning like the Google tools and everything.
Yeah.
Which I have been doing that for a long time myself. We were just looking at Gmail. I've been using it since it was in, the beta where you had to go fish for an invite.
Still have
to-
invites. I still have 5 invites left.
Do you really? Does it- I was gonna say they probably removed it from the interface by now.
I was listening to an old episode of the Gmail podcast, and I was saying that.
Oh yeah, I still got 5 left. Yeah. So public libraries, the Louis Public Library has tons of Blu-ray movies and video games to rent for free, and they have R-rated movies and M-rated games. I can also get a digital copy of the New York Times and a subscription to Headspace for free. They have a multiple audiobook, ebook lending platforms as well. And I recently found out that you can check out Wi-Fi hotspots, fishing poles, instruments, and things like binoculars. And tell us, what library are you using, for crying out loud? Wow.
Excuse me, I'd like to borrow a telescope.
Yeah, along with this book of Lord of the Rings. Nah, that's awesome. Actually,
That is pretty cool. I
now,
know
not
that.
necessarily free, but I think a lot of libraries do this. But my wife has gone to the local library, and they have when they have double copies, or maybe somebody donated some books.
Mhm.
They have books for very cheap, like dollar, like a few dollars. They have a bunch of used books right there for sale. So it's
Okay.
not necessarily free, but it's also a good resource to go pick up a book.
Yeah, a lot of the library material I consume is through an app called Hoopla.
Mm-hmm.
You tie into the library and get stuff. Fritz says, "I'm sorry to say that, but our tuition-free universities here in Germany."
Why are you sorry to say that?
Oh, they have tuition-free. Yeah, I'm coming to Germany. Oh, yeah. Craig just finished paying for his son's education,
Oh, that's what.
thousands and thousands of dollars. You just could have given him a plane ticket to Germany and go, there you go.
Yeah. Dan Coyer says, Technorama podcast is the answer. Is the answer, people?
It's the answer, people.
Yeah.
We always taught our kids the answer is blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
No matter
Actually,
what question they always answer, you just shout out, blowing in the wind. And they look at you like, what? The answer
Yeah.
is blowing in the wind. That's what Bob Dylan said.
That's what he said. I don't think you got one response. I
I
don't
did
think I
get
shared it.
one response. My contribution to this whole conversation was, those. What about those little packets of condiments? Take all you want. They're
Yeah.
free. And Teresa said, "I know I'm late. Radio. Radio is free. It's ad supported, but it's free."
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I think is the most, I think it's the one of the best modern resources since the internet came along is YouTube, because I've found so many instructional videos on, or not even just that, reviews, but instructional videos on how to do things, what things are. Uh, the Khan Academy, which Harrison used when he was doing school, when he couldn't understand how to do a certain math equations, they were on there explaining how to do them. So YouTube has been fantastic, probably one of the better resources, I think, besides Wikipedia on the internet.
I was just working on a bit of ServiceNow stuff, and I got confused, and I had needed to write something. I went, "What? What? I don't understand what this object is that's being passed in this function." So I did a quick Google. First thing that came up is a video I made a few years ago.
That's pretty funny.
Ah, it's
That's
a good
pretty
thing
funny.
I've been making videos. I wouldn't have any memory.
Yeah.
I don't have to remember everything. The internet does it for me.
Right. So yeah, actually, the Khan Academy is a great resource. They have mostly math, but there's a lot of other courses where they have subject matter experts explain how to do things. Um, I mean, and a lot of those are YouTube videos, but they have a great website that you can dive into it deeper and find those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that takes care of all the questions we had. We're gonna give you another one at the end of the show. So stick around. Right into the bump ba dum ba dum bump ba dum. There it is.
There you go.
On this day in history for June 5th, 2024, this is the 157th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar. There are 209 days remaining in 2024. It was on this date in 1817 that the first Great Lakes steamer, the Frontenac, was launched.
And it was 141 years ago today that the first regularly scheduled Orient Express departed Paris.
Prior to being regularly scheduled, just leave at random times.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, you missed it. Well, when
We
was
got
it?
6 minutes.
I left 3 minutes ago. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
June 5th, 1893, the trial of Lizzie Borden for the murder of her father and stepmother began in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
And it was also on the date in 1956 that Elvis Presley introduced the new single, Hound Dog, on the Milton Berle Show, scandalizing the audience with his suggestive hip movements, which
Oh
are
my! Think of
which
the
are-
children.
those are tame, way tame by today's standards.
And I'm a hound dog. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
June 5th, 1964, DSV, which I believe is a deep sea vehicle, Alvin was commissioned. That's the one that Robert Ballard used to find the Titanic.
Alvin! It was also on that date in 1991 that the Space Shuttle Columbia was launched on STS-40, the fifth Space Lab mission.
Also today in 1995, the Bose-Einstein condensate was first created.
It's where they first condensated bosite.
Yeah, that's after you get the condensate, you get the evaporate and the precipitate. It's just
Yes.
the Bose-Einstein cycle.
All right, we won't procrastinate any further. Let's move along. And so it was on this date in 2002, the Space Shuttle Endeavour launched STS-111, carrying the Expedition 5 crew to the International Space Station to replace the Expedition 4 crew. Astronaut Frank Shang Diaz became the first person to have flown 7 space flights.
Second person.
I'm sorry, what did I say? Oh, the second
First.
person.
Happy birthday goes out on this day to Italian mathematician and philosopher Elena Cornaro Piscopia, born in the state in 1646.
Yeah. And Finnish chemist, physicist, and meteorologist Johann Gadolin was born 264 years ago today.
John Couch Adams, the English mathematician and astronomer, was born 205 years ago today.
And Hungarian English physicist, and engineer, Nobel Prize laureate Dennis Gabor was born 124 years ago today.
English archaeologist and academic, also born 110 years ago, Beatrice Descartes.
And born June 5th, 1915, English barrister and biochemist, co-founder of Mensa Lancelot Ware.
No, he
What?
co-founded Mensa. His name is Lancelot Ware.
There's not a comma in there.
Doesn't need to be a comma.
I was reading it as yes, it needs to be a comma.
No, it doesn't.
I got your Mensa right here.
You already have 4 commas in the sentence.
So
American film producer, co-founder of Amblin Entertainment, Kathleen Kennedy, was born on the state in 1953.
and last but not least, also turning 59 today, is American astronomer and author Michael E. Brown.
The Michael E. Brown, the one that demoted Pluto?
Maybe.
That's the one.
Yep.
Listener birthdays this week include May 4th, Tara Parkman, May 5th, Chris MC, May 6th, Adam Larson, and Grandma Grace. Oh, happy birthday to you, Grandma. 1921, if Grandma Grace is still around,
103.
she's 103. How long have we had this birthday calendar?
Way too long. 20-something years.
No, not 20-some years. Grandma,
What?
no, we did not start this right away.
I think pretty not far off from the beginning.
7?
Huh?
Maybe 2007?
Maybe something like that. Maybe.
20 plus years. No. May 8th, Bobby Irvin. May 10th has 2 birthdays, Tim from Australia and Weber. By the way, June 10th, AA was founded in 1935. He knows it's his birthday. That's
right.
the way it was on this day in history for June 5th, 2024. Hey, if you want to get your birthday on the birthday calendar, well, Craig's going to put up a little link on the screen for the people watching at home, and I'm going to tell you what it says. It says, go to chuckchat.com/birthday, and we will give you a shout out at the appropriate time of year. And if your birthday was this week and you're not on the calendar, well, we wish you all the best. I was thinking that was going to be the end of the song, but it's not, so we're just going to fade them out. Bye-bye. So long.
By
Which
the way,
means-
I went to look in our show notes because I was like, maybe I can figure out real quick
Don't go that far back.
when. So 2011. It's funny. You go back and look at our show notes, and they're like stupidly short. I think that was the network one, is what it was.
Emphasis on stupidly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do a random sound effect.
Good startling news, everyone.
Well, I wouldn't call it startling, but it is interesting from Ars
and-
Technica.
And I've added this one because I made a reference to it the other day that there was a new theory about warp drive. Anyway, I'll let you go. This is kind of a follow up.
Oh, okay. So a team of physicists have discovered it's possible to build real, actual physical warp drive and not break any known rules of physics. Just one caveat, the vessel doing the warping can't exceed the speed of light. So you're not really going anywhere interesting anytime soon. The other thing I got out of this was the theory is based on materials like negative matter that don't exist yet. I thought it was funny when they said if you kicked a 5 kilogram ball of negative matter, it would go backwards. That would be quite startling.
Yes,
So
it would.
never mind the fact that some of these things just don't exist. The other quote that I thought was funny, I'll paraphrase it. They said it's like the difference between, writing down Newton's equations and, what was it? Building the Falcon X.
Right. Oh
like-
yeah.
There's a lot of difference between, I think we can do this because I wrote it down, to actually putting it in motion.
It's all on a bar napkin.
Where did it
Well,
say?
there you go.
Any other comments in there that you wanted to cover?
No, not really. I just, like I said, I kind of mentioned it because I saw the title move through my feed and I couldn't find it again. And I found it. That's why I threw it in here. And I mentioned it. So
All right. Well, that's all we have to say about Warp Drive. It's not coming to your neighborhood anytime soon. So stay tuned if we have any more news.
Good news, everyone.
We already did the news. Let's go to the Hex of Strange Stories. I think Farnsworth just like that door opening sound.
yeah.
We have from interestingengineering.com, which is a fascinating site. I'm going to put this one on the screen just because it looks interesting. Do a screen share. Should have done this beforehand. Present. Share screen.
See, at first, when he pulls this up, you'll see, at first I thought, oh, they're replacing the pinky. Then I went,
No,
wait a minute. They're actually augmenting the hand.
that's why AI can't get this right. It doesn't know how many fingers there are. We keep putting in things like this. What
Yeah.
they've done is they've created this device called the third thumb. And it's designed for a couple of reasons. One is to help people with mobility issues. They may have lost a thumb. They may have not be able to use a thumb. Or the other is to extend functionality, allow you to grab things that you currently can't grab with 4 fingers and a thumb.
Mhm.
I thought it was interesting, the operation. It's like, well, why don't you have one of these on each hand and then you could have 4 thumbs? Imagine I could finally grasp a basketball with my smaller hands.
Yeah.
I had an extra
Right.
thumb.
Well, actually, I'll tell you this too. Whenever I'm holding a glass, like a drink or something like that,
yes,
I do. I don't know if you do this
you
too.
have your pinky underneath.
Yeah, I have my pinky underneath. So when I saw this and realized what was going on here, I thought, well, this makes a lot of sense. I would actually use that to support it underneath.
If I wouldn't wear a spare thumb, I would just put a cup holder around my hand.
Just put a
a
cup-
3D
I
printed glove
we can-
with a cup holder in it.
Look, we can solve this. It just needs a handle. The cup just needs a handle.
Problem. Why didn't we think of this sooner?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because they said they tested it out on people from age 33 to 90, was it? It was a fairly big range of ages that they put on this. And they found that most people, they tested hundreds of people, most of them could operate this within 60 seconds. And they had no problem. You use like a pressure sensor on your right toe to open it and a pressure sensor on your left toe to close it. So you're using your feet to operate this thumb. So you
Okay.
just got to be a little coordinated about when do you want it to open and when do you want it to close. And they were asked to do tasks like move as many of these, I don't know, Cheerios from one bowl to the other in a minute that you can. I thought it was fascinating. I can't think of a practical use for it except for
Holding your beer.
holding another beer.
Yeah. There was and I cannot remember her name right offhand, but she was kind of a maker YouTuber, and
Yeah.
she had a saw accident where she
Ooh.
cut off her pinky, and so I think she had just a little bit of the lower knuckle there,
Right.
and she 3D printed, and the whole video was her iterating her design to fit her hand. So it looked like a glove, but the glove had that extra pinky that looked very similar to this. And she could actually grab a little bit. I don't know how much pressure she could put on with that thing,
Mhm.
but it looked very similar to this. And I'll send the I'll see if I can find the video and send it to you later. But it was fascinating watching her going through the process, but it looked just like this. She didn't have a extra finger per se like this video or like this article shows, but it was replacing her pinky, and it was just a glove she would slide on, and it gave her when she closed her hand, it would close along with it. So
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
I could see this being extremely important if you were missing a thumb because you need an opposable thumb.
Just not on the same hand.
Oh, no, not the same hand. The guy in this picture has unbelievably long thumb,
Yeah, I know.
or
He
it's
does.
a deep pocket in the web of his hand. Anyway,
He must be European.
I don't know what he's peeing. Speaking of another hacks and strange stories, you remember the old iPods, right? They were
Yeah.
just audio players, maybe a couple of games on them. Some later had video.
hmm
Well, you found us an article from xda-developers.com about people who have modded their iPod Classic. I'm going to put that back on the screen because it's worth taking a look.
Now, in all fairness, it's also all fairness. I'm sorry. This is also kind of a follow up because I did mention we had talked about iPods before with the old video game on it.
Yeah.
That was Tetris like, and I mentioned that. Oh, I saw an article where they were talking about modding iPods with Bluetooth and etc. And you were like, really? And this is it. This is the
There are take home. There are pre-built kits that you can use to retrofit these things. Now, the hardest part about this is opening the case. They said that
Yeah.
they went to UFixit and they rated this as very difficult, which is the highest rating. He said it could take up to 2 hours to open this without damaging the case. And in the pictures, you can see it did kind of scratch that upper left corner a bit
Mhm.
on the black housing. But all in all, he did say that if you install the SSD, could get a little warm.
Really?
It's very,
Yeah.
very fast, but there's an adapter to go from a standard M2 slot to the ribbon cable they've got inside it. Because those old iPods, they had hard drives with spinning spindles and everything. And if you dropped your iPod, you pretty much
Could
had
screw up your
the risk of screwing up the hard drive. Not so with an SSD, and the SSD is lighter. But the
and
downside,
more power efficient, I imagine.
potentially, the because I think it would shut down the hard drive when it wasn't always spinning because it would cache stuff. But there's another option to do either SSD or an SD card. And the SSD, unfortunately, takes up too much room that you can't put in the USB adapter. So or USB-C, if you want to convert it to USB-C, and it actually works for transferring audio, for charging, everything that the 40-pin connector does, and is still there. So you could, I don't know what you'd want to, but you could use both. And now that USB-C is getting more standard across multiple devices, even Apple devices,
Mhm.
it's nice having your old 2008. They did say there are certain models that do and do not work with the retrofit kits. But if I still had mine, I'd consider breaking it open and doing some of this stuff just to
Yeah.
keep it up to date.
Yeah, these are notoriously difficult to open because they don't have screws. It's more like
Right.
they snap together to a degree. The case,
Yep.
the top kind of snaps into the right place, and then it looks because it's seamless look, which would say that that's great, but that make it easy to fix.
The other thing about the USB-C kit is it comes with a pre-printed PCB. You don't have to really solder anything. All the connectors are right there. You just move them from old place to new place and you're in business. But the USB, they said there's no way to really mount the PCB in the case. You sort of have to hot glue it in and hope it holds for a while. So you may be going back into that case. If you push the USB-C charger in, it goes, right through.
Well, that could be a problem if there's heat.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you got a little heat from that SSD.
Well, you can't do the USB-C and the SSD at the same time. That was a whole mouthful of letters.
Oh, sure.
Because the SSD retrofit takes up too much room to put in the other card. So if you went USB-C, you'd have to do the SD card.
Right. Which that might be fine.
Oh, I'm sure an SD card would be plenty fine. They make them nice and fast these days.
Yeah, and if you could store or not just fast, but you can get some pretty good storage on those things nowadays.
And they're wicked cheap these days too.
Yeah. So how much was the kit? Did you remember? I don't remember seeing that.
I do not remember seeing the price on that. But it
Okay.
wasn't. I mean, you're going to be spending a little bit of money on some of that, especially if you wanted to get. Oh, they also said the capacities were somewhat limited too. Not all of the older devices will recognize the capacities on the new storage. So if you went and got a, 1 terabyte SSD or an SD card, you might only be able to use like 400 meg of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because there's limitations of the OS, I assume.
Yeah. 640K. Who's ever going to need more than that?
Yeah, Bill Gates.
All righty. Next question. As we send people to the moon, you want to know what time it is, especially if they're working office hours or weekends or swing shift or something.
Yeah, you got to know when to hit the local bar.
So the problem is, we are all on the same planet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an easy offset to say, oh, Craig is 3 hours ahead of me because he sees the sunrise of roughly 3 hours ahead of me. And we're all rotating at the same velocity. No, it's not same velocity, but it was at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is the moon does not. 1 day equals 1 revolution because it's always facing the same direction. So it's 29.5 days to make 1 day.
Right.
The sun will rise 29.5 days from the next sunrise. It's or from the last sunrise. It's a bit confusing. So they're trying to figure out, do you synchronize to something on Earth? Do you set up new time zones? I did a little quick math. I said, what's the circumference of the moon? And I wanted to know how fast you would have to walk, run, drive, fly to stay ahead of the terminus. If the sun was setting on Earth, you have to be flying about 1,000 miles an hour to stay ahead of that sunset, which you can almost do if you're flying from, say, Europe to the US. It takes a really long time for the sun to set. We're going the other way, it sets really fast. But on the moon, you only have to go about 10 miles an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you're a decent runner or you grab the moon buggy, which goes up to 14 miles an hour, you can drive yourself out of the sunset.
Right.
That was just a little weird thing that went through my mind. But there were several options and benefits. And challenge number 1, the lunar day and night cycle I mentioned is 29.5 Earth days. Challenge number 2, lack of natural timekeeping reference. On Earth, time zones are based on the planet's rotation, divided into 24 hours. The moon lacks a similar natural reference point, necessitating the creation of an entirely new timekeeping system. Challenge number 3, coordinating international missions. So, with multiple countries and private entities planning lunar missions, achieving consensus on a standardized time zone that suits all parties is challenging. Different missions may have varying requirements and preferences for timekeeping. Challenge number 4, technical synchronization. Developing and implementing precise navigation and communication systems that can maintain accurate timekeeping and synchronization across different lunar missions is technically complex. This includes ensuring that all equipment and systems used by various missions are compatible with the new time zone. You thought time zones were a pain in the you-know-what on Earth.
They should just use Eastern and with the daylight savings time. it'd make
Everything's
you happy.
UTC. You're stuck with it. It's UTC. Communication delays. Communication between Earth and Moon involves a time delay of about 1.28 seconds each way. This delay must be considered in the design of a new timekeeping system to ensure accurate coordination and operation of missions. Challenge number 6, operational practicalities. The practical aspects of how astronauts and mission control will adapt to and use the new time zone in daily operations, including scheduling activities and coordinating with Earth-based teams, need thorough planning and testing. And finally, number 7, managing and converting data between Earth time and lunar time could pose additional challenges, requiring robust software and systems to handle time conversions seamlessly without errors. So basically, you're saying leave it to the computers.
Right. Actually, I think this has already been solved back in the 90s. We should just adopt Swatch internet time for the moon.
There wouldn't be one time on the moon. Because like you said, it's taking 29.5 days
Yeah.
to make a day.
No, remember Swatch internet time. Remember that?
I know where you're going, and it's not funny, so I'm moving on.
Oh, come on. It's funny. You're laughing.
I don't acknowledge that ever existed. It was like flues. It wasn't
in-
the real money.
It's in Wikipedia. It must be true.
Yeah. Whoopi Goldberg endorsed flues, but that doesn't make it real. Early
Ugh.
predecessor to Bitcoin, I guess. But the you couldn't say, hey, it's noon on the moon, which is just fun to say in the first place. But where on the moon? Because one side may be just hitting sunrise and one may be hitting sunset. So,
Mhm.
yeah. I think they're going to be very long hours, or you're going to have very thin slices of hours.
Yeah. I don't know that you need. Do you actually need different times on the moon, or much less just a standard time for the whole thing that we on Earth can
No, I think
deal with?
that's a good question. Now, I'm thinking if you wanted to tell somebody when you are working, does it have to be based on the day? I mean, if you look at it, it would be very similar to being at the extreme north or south of our Earth, where you could have the sun. I'm not going to see the sun for 6 months. Okay, or the
Alaska.
days
Yeah,
are-
you know, this place. Yeah.
right. The days are very long or
Mhm.
very short, and the moon, in effect, your day is 14 and a 3/4 day or hour, No, 14 and 3/4 days. Yeah. So what if you're going to have multiple sleep cycles in those 14 days, but you still need to communicate to somebody, when do you report for work? When are you at your desk, so to speak? When can we do a Zoom?
Yeah.
Yeah. For us, we would say, Tuesday between 9 and 11 a.m.
Yeah.
What does that mean on the moon? Well, Tuesday doesn't mean much because you're in this 29 and a half day cycle.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was thinking, what if we gave it like its own time zone?
That's what
Kind of like GMT, sort of, where it's the same for everybody. I don't know. Well, I'm glad they're thinking about it because I'm getting hurdy brain thinking about it.
I think it's a fun challenge.
It is a fun challenge. Yeah.
All right. We'd normally give a shout out to the chat room right now, but there's nobody in the chat room because we're broadcasting on Monday instead of our usual Sunday night.
Yep.
But when we usually do this on Sunday, obviously we had some family commitments. Craig had a son graduating and had some travel to do there.
Yep.
So didn't happen this week. So But we invite you to join us Sunday nights at 8:30 or subscribe to the YouTube or Facebook page so that you can get notified when we do go live and you can join us here. So let's move on to Remember When. Yeah, we've got one. You remember watching Walter Cronkite on the evening news, right, Craig?
Yes, I have seen him before.
Well, Walter Cronkite at one time was noted as the most trustworthy man.
Yeah, he sure
And
was.
as such, back in 1967, which is interesting to think that 1967 is almost as far away from the year 2000 as we are now.
No.
Yes. Yes. And what Darren told me on the cruise is you're further from your birthday than your birthday is from World War One.
Thanks, Darren.
I can tell that to my dad, and it would be the Civil War.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't-
Hey, time, that just goes to prove time is relevant.
I'm going to tell it to my relatives when I see them in a couple of weeks. But
Yeah.
where was I going with this? Oh, they asked Walter, what do you think life will be like in the year 2000? And he got a few things right. And he
Yeah.
got a few things wrong. And your best bet when someone asks you to predict the future is, I hope to get a few things right, but I know I'm not going to get everything right.
I think that's a direct quote from Nostradamus.
Okay,
get a few things right.
that was better than your Swatch watch time.
Well, I think Walter Cronkite also had, and based on this video, he had some insight on certain things because he was part of reporting on these things. He was,
Right.
doing some reporting. So you get an idea. You can say, okay, where I can extrapolate kind of where this is going. So I think in some ways he did get it right, and I said so in the video. I thought it was pretty cool.
2 years before we landed on the moon, he predicted a moon buggy,
Yep.
which was pretty darn close. So we had a few more years to wait for that, but didn't look anything like whatever the artist did.
Mhm.
He did sort of predict automated cars and GPS in a sense. He thought that cars would navigate through magnets in the road, which,
Yeah.
good idea, except when you're in ice and snow conditions. So I mean, there's a number of things that he got pretty darn close. He was off a little bit on robots in the house. It wasn't quite the Jetsons where there were multi-purpose robots. It was more
Yeah.
like, now here's a robot for your vacuum.
Well, we reported on some of those. Now today, I don't think we're as far off from that being a reality. Helping people out that really need it, a robot, to kind of do things.
Yep.
So not that far off.
Hovercrafts. I'm still waiting for my hovercraft.
Well, they make those.
They make them, but we're not all driving them.
No, we're not.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
For all.
So yeah, this is good. This is probably not as impactful as seeing that video, that black and white video. Was it Isaac Asimov? No,
Arthur C. Clarke.
Robert C. Clarke. I think he was talking about how the internet was going to change things, and you would have. He was really talking about remote work and how that would change travel and everything. Which we did see that come to fruition during COVID. For sure.
Yes, we did.
But and you and I have been working from home for a number of years at this point. Way more than we care to remember to document. Yeah. Yeah.
Knew I should have set up an office and then take a tax break.
Can't do that anymore.
Alrighty. Coming to the part where we thank the patrons. These are the people that make the show possible. You fund it. You help make it go. People like Alexis Duran, Amber Elstad, Amy Bowen, Abner Braverman, Ben Vaughn, Brian Brown, Chris Martinez, Chris MC, Dan D. Mancoyer had comments in the question of the week. Dean Jensen, Denise Inglis, Gary Lindros, John Clifford, John Noble, Jorga Schrauen, blank space on row 4, column 4. Kyle Nishioka, Leon, Mark Kilfoyle, Brad Miller. We've got Mike Wills, Saturday Morning Media, Steve Weshy, Steve Cody, Steve Therian, Steve Webb, Steve Lennon and Tim Cook. I'm watching what you're typing. Why don't you call it like A4 or
There you
D4, it's like a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
D4. You sunk my battleship. These are the wonderful people who have gone to the website that is on the bottom of the screen if you're watching at home. If you're listening at home, listening on the road, you're listening on your walk, wherever you are, patreon.com/Technorama. Let me say that so you can understand it. Patreon.com/Technorama podcast. Woo, it's a good thing I don't have to edit this one and make bloopers out of it.
Yeah.
Way too much work. Thank you very much to everybody who has done that. And for as little as $1 a show, some give more. Thank you for that. We have different tiers, different levels, not tears of like crying, tears of joy. Yes, that's it.
When I'm doing all the work to put this stuff together, yeah, there are some tears for crying.
We should talk about naming these different tiers, because there are some people that have really creative tiers of patronage. Like the Delta Flyers has their Admirals Club and their Commodore and their Ensign level, for the different ranks on Star Trek.
Thinking we should reorganize this a little
There's
bit?
one that I saw today that had there were like an electronics or computing show, and they had the 10 microfarad club, 100 microfarad club.
Nice.
Like
All right,
that's
well,
pretty
what-
creative.
Maybe we can do a little reorganization. I'm
Yeah,
down with that.
we're not going to change the pricing on any of this, people. Trust us.
Oh no. We won't do like that. But we'll
Alriady.
yeah, we'll reorganize because we got a couple of tiers nobody's taking us up on. Well, at least one of them.
Well, yeah. I don't know if there's anybody even listening that can afford those or has influence to say, I think I will sponsor an entire episode.
I know. I was playing. I basically put it in as a joke, but nobody. I was like,
Dream big.
maybe somebody will.
Dream
jump in.
big. Dream big.
That's
All
right.
right. Over to the media corner.
Yes.
We have one thing to talk about.
Welcome to Blockhead Video. Hey, where can I find some good information about music and TV and videos and things? Over here in the media corner.
All right. So this one I thought was hilarious because it turned out to be true. So if you ever watched Parks and Recreation, there was a Patton Oswalt's character that was on the show.
Mhm.
He wasn't on there as a regular character, but he was on there a couple times. He was doing a filibuster in the for the city council, and he started going on this rant, and the producers or the director of the show just gave him some directions, said just kind of make it up as you go. He ended up laying out this crazy Star Wars MCU storyline.
Well, I want to know what the context is, because he's like in a city hall meeting talking about
Oh, you need to watch that.
how
then.
Boba Fett comes out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah. Well, it's a filibuster, so he's trying to waste the time to make them so they won't take a vote on. I
Gotcha.
forget the
Okay.
I forget what the vote was on, but he went through it, and turns out that what they showed on TV was a short version of it, because he went on and on and on and on, and you can find the entire thing on YouTube. All right, so that in itself is fun to watch. So I would definitely go do that. However, the beginning of Boba Fett. Have you started watching Boba Fett?
No, because it's right in the timeline is right in the middle of Mandalorian.
Yes.
And I just got to the part where Boba Fett shows up, and I went, oh, yeah, cool. They used the same actor that they did. He
Yes.
looks a little beat up and bruised. And Ben and Keith this last weekend just explained that to me. I'm like, oh, so I got to pause Mandalorian to go watch Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And then
do.
I watched Ahsoka out of order. It's like,
Well, this is-
hey, wait a minute. How'd she? Never mind. I realized they
Yeah.
needed like an encyclopedia of the time,
Well-
so you know to watch things in order.
So this is no spoiler or anything. Of course, Boba Fett lives, and he fell in the Sarlacc pit originally. Anyway, Patton Oswalt, it was part of his ramblings. He was talking about how there's the twin suns, and the camera pans down, and then out of the sand comes Boba Fett's hand, and starts pulling himself out of the Sarlacc pit. And he did that. Well, they actually used his rambling as the opening for the show.
Not only that, but it's timed to his.
Yes. Yes.
You can, and if you watch the video, we've got linked in the media corner over at episode 745,
Yeah.
Technorama at chuckchat.com. There you go.
Yeah,
You
you need to
can.
watch this video, not just this one, but I mean the one where he's doing the actual filibuster.
I
Because
think
I
I
think
saw
you.
enough of it to get the idea now.
Oh no, you gotta watch the whole thing because because there's Disney and then there's the MCU and he starts bringing in, everything together. it's it's ridiculous, but it was funny. It was funny.
All right. Well, thank you for finding that very
Yeah,
entertaining. And now I have to put my Mandalorian on pause and go watch something else, which is
I
interesting
actually
because Donna and I are watching Mandalorian. I don't know if she's going to want to watch Book of Boba Fett first.
I found it. I don't know if you want me to get into this, but I'm no spoilers at all. Uh, I found it a serviceable show. I thought it was fun to watch, but probably wasn't as strong as The Mandalorian to some degree. But you may like it. I may end up go watch it again, refresh my mind. But I liked it a lot. It was really cool to see Boba Fett and some background on him.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of what we're watching, let's get into that. Oh, you took a freebie on this one.
What?
Two freebies, in my opinion, because you've already
Sort of.
talked about Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I was just going to say I actually finished it. And last time I was on episode 10, I did not. Each season has had like 10 episodes. I didn't realize this one had like 13. I was like,
Yep.
oh, I still got 3 episodes to watch. And Carol Burnett shows up just like you predicted.
Yep.
Well, I was a little upset with you because you were making me sound like I didn't notice her before. Like she was in an earlier season. And I was like, I have not seen her. And I kept thinking, why have I not? I don't remember her because I would have
Does show
told her.
up earlier.
Huh?
She does show up earlier.
When?
You didn't pay attention. We already had this discussion on a chat. I'm not going to rehash it here.
Okay,
Oh,
fine.
look, I said season and episode where she first shows up. And it was because you said last time, I only have like one episode. I'm on my last episode,
Right. Well,
which
that's
is
what I'm.
probably why you thought there were only 10 because she shows up in
Yes.
episode 10. And
Yeah, I
then
was
it
off.
goes
I
on
was.
from there.
Yeah, in all fairness, I was off because I didn't realize because Netflix says tells you how many episodes you got left in this season or series, and I went, oh, 3. I said, what?
Don't feel bad. When I first started watching it, I thought there were only 2 seasons. And then I
Oh,
found Donna watching episodes that I never saw. I said, hold on. What are you watching? Better
Yeah.
Call Saul. What season? 3. There's a 3rd season? Oh, and there's a few more. It's like, well, I
Yeah.
better get back to it. And like 3 years had gone by. So we rewound and started watching from season 1, episode 1.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, okay, so just to kind of finish this off, and I won't bring it up again, but I've been about Better Call Saul, but I will say I like the last few episodes because they did a lot of flash forwards, which were in black and white, flashbacks, and back to present, and it was slightly confusing on some level, but to keep it straight. But I thought they did a great job to show where the characters went past the end of Breaking Bad.
Mhm.
So you started to get an idea of some of the fallout of Breaking Bad,
Right.
and I think they did a wonderful job kind of dovetailing that and everything, and then of course giving you that extra little bit. So I was over the moon with this show. I thought they did a great job. Bob Odenkirk and Rhea Seahorn, she was fantastic as Kim. Everybody was great. So now, now my problem is my YouTube suggestions are starting to show up. Every clip known to man from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. I feel like I'm rewatching everything.
I would
But
pause at certain moments, like when they show someplace in Santa Fe
mhm,
or Albuquerque, because he was going between both for a while. And I wanted to see, are these real spots? So if I caught a sign of a street sign or a store name or something,
yeah,
I would look, where is that? I like I like just finding actual places and go,
yeah,
oh, okay, that's where they filmed it. That might not be where the story is actually taking place. Cause
yeah. There was I didn't watch the video, but I saw a video float by the other day. That's the guy was visiting filming locations for Better Call Saul. So
yeah,
maybe you should look for that. You might
that'd be
enjoy
fun.
that.
All right, we finished up a series we started watching a month or so ago, A Gentleman in Moscow on Hulu. So this is starring Ewan McGregor. Took me a little while to figure out it was him because, normally you're used to seeing him dressed up as
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. He's
Yeah.
not dressed up as Obi-Wan. He looks more like Edgar Allan Poe with a handlebar mustache. It was
Yes.
very, very confusing at first, but
Mhm.
then I went, that voice.
Oh yeah.
Especially when he starts changing his hairdo around a little bit throughout the series. Very good. So the basis of the story is he is a count, a very high royalty official, and the Russian Revolution comes along about 1917, and a lot of the royalty is killed. But he was not. He was actually um, like locked away, imprisoned in a fancy hotel is a better way of saying it, because they believed he wrote a poem supporting the revolution. They went, well, you can't be all that bad, so we're not going to kill you, but we are going to make sure you never leave this hotel. If you do, we will shoot you. And
Right.
he starts out in this palatial suite when he was there as royalty, but basically they move him up to the attic where it's cold and drafty.
Oh, great.
But he still is able to go to the dining room. He's still got nice clothes. He
Mhm.
eventually takes on a job as a waiter. You get to know a lot of the characters in the hotel. Takes you on this wonderful, wonderful journey. Every once in a while, they'd flash up day number 6,722. Like, yikes, he's been there a while. And then you can tell from the time that goes by, he's been there like 30 years or more. Because one of the little girls he met early on is now grown. She's part of the Russian movement. She comes back. She's got a daughter. And, okay, time is passing here. And then the daughter starts growing up. I'm not going to spoil the ending for you, but it was a nice series. I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the acting. Good emotional moments in that show.
Okay, we're good. And I know you have probably watched it by now, but and if you want to see our total reactions to this, we finished watching. You can go to our podcast, The Topic is Trek, at the topicistrek.com. We'll be recording that series very soon. Our follow up to the end of the finale for Star Trek Discovery, and just suffice it to say that I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good wrap up. So I'm looking forward to talking about it on the other podcast once I get all my thoughts in a row and I can watch it again.
It's a good
But-
wrap up to the season.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I liked I'm sorry, a good wrap up to the series. Not
Yes,
sure I cared for the wrap up to the season.
I think I'm kind of with you on that. Yes, I liked how they wrapped up some of the characters and
Yeah.
things like that. But yeah, you're right. It's like I don't know. It just seemed like something was missing this season, and it might have
Mhm.
something to do with when the decision was made to cancel the show.
Could have been.
You know,
Could-
because they had pretty much had it in the can. Then they changed their mind on the whole thing. So, but it's a good show. I enjoyed it. Very good show.
All right. I put a whole bunch of things in the geek library from my YouTube, some of my what I watched on YouTube.
So,
I won't get into every little short that I've seen, but the one that I pulled out for the Pass Me the Remote is called An Elf Off the Shelf. It's about the Quest Super Elf Cosmac 1802. The guy, I was telling you a little while ago about these guys that are dealing with old mini computers and calibrating hard drives with spanner wrenches and whatnot,
yeah.
and these very arcane cryptic machine language commands that they're using for diagnostics and whatnot. This gets even better. This is like an old training computer, and I remember using one of these in the early days. It's basically a CPU, a number pad if you're lucky. So
Hmm.
we've all seen the picture of the old Altair
Yeah.
computer with the switches and LEDs on the front.
Yes, that's right.
That's what the original Elf was. It had switches on it. So if you wanted to load an address, it only had 256 bytes of memory.
Mhm.
So you start out at byte 0 and you flip the switches to the program code you want. Let's say it's A0, and A0 says clear the register. You set the dip switches to 1010000000, and you hit a button and it says, great, that's now stored in location 0. Then you go to the next one and you flip the switches. So your programs were machine language, but then you put them in with these switches. The Super Elf had 3 pairs of 7-segment display. So you could tell what the data was, what your program counter was, and what the instruction was.
Okay.
And you could enter them on this keypad. Just wicked arcane, but very fascinating because this guy got it from some unknown source, maybe an estate sale or something. And he said, I don't even know if this thing works, but yet he was able to produce sound off of it. He could connect it to a video. It looks like a PCB with a few chips on it and a keypad. It's not that impressive, but he was able to connect things together and it worked. I was thoroughly amazed. It would probably be entertaining for maybe a couple hours for me. He had program listings of things he could do. He says, "Oh, this one's going to make the Q LED blink on and off."
Right.
Neat.
Yeah, neat.
This one's a tune generator. But the amazing thing is, Craig, that to blink the LED on and off was only about 10 bytes. 10 bytes of
Really?
code.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very efficient to do a tone generator that responded to the buttons you pushed on the keypad. So it's listening to the keypad. So if you go 01, you go duh, you go 02, duh, and had 256 combinations because you could go 00 through FF. It would make different tone generators. That thing was only about 15 bytes. It was ridiculously efficient.
How many bytes do we use nowadays?
Oh, a Hello World program
Yeah.
in any compiled language is going to be several K just for a minimum.
Sure. Yeah.
I think we talked about that with why is my Windows app so big? Well, it's got to load a whole bunch of Windows support, even if you're not
That's
doing
true.
any Windows.
That's right.
So I thought it was interesting. There's a whole bunch more in the Geek Library, including Scroll Lock, the secret key they don't want you to press.
Scroll lock.
20 things from the 1970s we can no longer do. 20 things the Nazis invented and you didn't know about. They did not invent the Autobahn. They were inspired to build the Autobahn by others.
They invented internet time.
Right. Moon time.
Moon time.
There is another one in here. The rare multi-user Unix workstation that this guy got called the Plexus P20. Now we mentioned Plexus because that's where I used to work.
Yep.
The logo looks eerily similar, but they are not the same company. I know that for a
That's
fact.
right. You mentioned that to me earlier. That's interesting.
10 famous cereals that have faded into history. The $100 laptop, which cost $200.
Right.
This channel that I found, Crazy Ken's Tech Talk, is actually pretty good. Ryan Socash did one on its history called San Francisco's Lost Docks and 15 oldest buildings we still use today. Lots of fun stuff in there. So I invite you to go over to the show notes for episode 745. Take a look. It's not everything I watch, but some of the more interesting ones. Like you said, YouTube is getting to be quite the entertainment powerhouse. Not
Oh
just
man, I'm telling you,
education.
it's a great resource for everything.
Yep. And I think I've subscribed to another half a dozen channels this week, just because if we come up with a suggestion, I'm going, I like that. I want to see more.
You're gonna be like me. How many did I say I had?
Notifications like every 15 minutes. Ding.
I
I do
turn off the
expect
notifications. I just go look at the description.
I love seeing the notifications.
You do? Oh.
Yep.
I actually don't do that because I'll just pull up the subscriptions page.
True.
See, I have.
Mine's more like an RSS feed, though.
Oh, is it not
It's
going
just
to tell me how
show
many?
me. I can choose whether to watch it, save it later, or whatever.
I thought it was a way that you saw how many subscriptions you had. It was like,
Oh,
I had
there
like
it is.
147 or more. It's
You wanna
ridiculous.
There used to be a way. Subscriptions. Show more. I thought there was a subscriptions page. There it is. Subscriptions near the top. Mine says, oh, that's all latest. Manage. Let's see. Is it under manage? We're just killing time now, people.
No,
No. Well, they are alphabetic.
there was a number here before.
There was a
So-
number here.
'cause,
I'm disappointed. Thanks,
yeah,
YouTube.
I did remove a lot because I'll be honest with you. I kept getting like whenever a new cell phone would come out,
Mhm.
I was seeing like 5 videos right in a row. It's like you could tell when the embargo was lifted so they could all release their review of that phone. There'll be like 5 videos, the same
Oh, yeah,
stupid
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
I'm like, okay, I don't need any more Android reviews. So I kind of thinned those out a lot. I forget how many I got.
It's a long list, and it just keeps scrolling, and then it has to load another page and keep scrolling.
Yeah.
Although I probably will take a few off of here.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for this show. We have a question for you for next week. If you could create a game show for any fictional universe, what would it be like?
Hmm.
It's the Lord of the Rings game. It's your turn to return the ring to Mordor. IRL.
That's a good one.
World's
Yeah, and
worst escape room.
hey, and it looks like the what, $250,000 pyramid, and it's got like a fake volcano that you have to at the very
Not a board game, people. Game
yeah.
show. These are people who are going to be competing.
Oh, I could see the Ferengi running Price is Right. How do you like that?
I smell opportunity, Quarter.
Guess what? You got a new car.
You're going to have to bid higher. Anyway, with that note, I don't know, spur some imagination with our listeners. We're going to go record a Patreon show. But first, we've got to say thank you and goodbye and how you can get in touch with us. If you've got an idea for your game show, you want to call the listener line, go right ahead. The number is 707-530-2428. We'd love to hear from you. You can also email your idea. Craig, put the thing on the screen.
I'm trying to.
No, you're not. You're staring at something.
No, I'm not trying to pull.
I saw that lost puppy dog look
Leave
on
me
your
alone.
face.
There you go.
Technorama@chuckchat.com. The listeners are going, what? What now? They all know what's going on. They probably left like 20 minutes ago. Next podcast. Thank you. 707-530-2428 or technorama@chuckchat.com. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, you know what to do. Tell a friend about Technorama. Introduce them to the show. Just slam those earbuds in their ears and go, listen to this. And give us a binary high five, Craig.
All right. 101.
Done with the audio recording.
Hey, by the way, so today,
two down and one to go today.
So before we log off, I'll tell everybody I was driving home from Atlanta this weekend today, and I was in the car behind another car in the left-hand lane of the highway. We're going a decent speed. There's really no other cars around. I'm just kind of hanging out behind this guy. I see a car coming up from behind me, and he's going pretty fast. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll get over in the right lane, let him pass. I don't care. I started to move over. He did too. So I moved back over to the left lane because I figured he's going to pass us both. And he went to pass me and he flipped me off. I was like, you're getting what you want. You're passing me. He flipped me off.
Cut him off.
I didn't do anything. So he flipped me off. I gave him that. I just did the shrug. I was like, whatever. I think it made him more mad because I didn't really care. Just thought it was funny. So why you're getting what you want? You're passing us anyway. So,
all right, well, let's say goodbye to the people on the video stream, and we'll get on with our Patreon recording. So, take care. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe. We'll talk to you again on the next episode. 746.
See you later. Bye.